are manifesting what we deserve. We are attracting what we deserve. And we are doing that by living and breathing and existing and communicating and loving and growing in our place of power, our abundance mindset. This is truly the core of what abundance is. It is focusing on where you already have the good stuff. Hello. Welcome back to Try, Adjust, Thrive, my loves. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Oksana Varas. I am your host, and let's get right into it. Today, my friends, we are going to unpack abundance and scarcity because this needs to be discussed. So this morning, I felt called to discuss abundance because this is something that I struggled with for a really long time, for pretty much the majority of my young adult life, teenage life. I very much operated from a place of scarcity. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing because I didn't have the knowledge of what scarcity and abundance even meant in terms of, how you walk through life. But now, thanks to social media and luckily falling into the right groups of people and stumbling upon great content creators, I've finally developed a grasp of it and figured out a way to work abundance into my life in such a way that I now operate from a place of abundance. And although we are never done learning and growing, we are constantly on this journey of life, I feel that I've done the necessary work to get me to a place of operating from a place of abundance on a regular basis. Of course, there are still moments where I fall into a place of scarcity because I'm a human being and I'm imperfect, just like the rest of us. However, I've really worked on rewiring my mindset so that when I face challenges or when I face what I used to consider as setbacks or failures, I now navigate them with much more positivity and much more fascination with where things are actually going to be going in my future because maybe they didn't pan out the way that I wanted them to, or maybe a moment of perceived scarcity is actually a moment of abundance in disguise. Now, I'm going to dive a little deeper into this in a moment. But first things first, before I proceed, I just wanted to quickly note that if you are new to the podcast, welcome and thank you for tuning in. And if you are a returning member of the podcast, a returning listener, welcome back, my loves. Love you. And if you are a fan, if you enjoy the content that I put out, please like and subscribe, like this video. If you're watching on YouTube, it really helps me. And if you are interested in sticking around, if you're interested in continuing this journey with me, because truly that's what I'm about. That's what I'm sharing is my life journey and how it can relate and inspire others. And if you're here for it, if you want to stick around for my journey, because my journey is also your journey, because we are navigating life together and this is a community, then please share this episode with somebody that you love, extend the community, share it with someone who you think might get something out of this episode, and follow me on Instagram at Try, Adjust, Thrive. And that's it. I just needed to, self-promote for a second because you're supposed to do that. And that's something that I am still working on creating more abundance in my life towards. So anyway, let's get back into it. So let's dive a little deeper into what scarcity and abundance really are. I'm sure that my listeners have an idea, but for those of you who don't, a scarcity mindset is focus. It's essentially a way of saying that you focus on the negatives. Your brain jumps to a place of lacking in a situation. So for example, I'm a performing artist and I'm constantly working on new music, and it can be so easy, and this is what I used to do, to go into a mindset of scarcity where when I would approach a piece of music, I would constantly be worrying about where I'm going wrong, what is bad about this. And this is not to be confused with how can I improve my performance, but I would genuinely, and that's what I thought I was doing. I thought that by harshly criticizing my work, I was just concerned with how to improve it. However, I didn't have an improvement mindset. I had a very self-deprecating mindset in that I just kept focusing on all the areas that I was failing, quote unquote failing. I'm going to put that in quotations because we're never failing. I don't think we're necessarily failing. We're just learning and growing and evolving. And sometimes that looks different than what we expect it to look like. So I used to do this all the time when I would work on music. I would focus on the notes that I couldn't hit or couldn't hit the way that I wanted to. I would focus on the areas where my breathing, quote unquote, sucked. I was just so focused on the negatives. And this also extended to my relationship with my body image, because something that I've been learning over time is how we do one thing is how we do most things, if not all things. So, because I already had this negative mindset towards my craft and my practice, my profession, I also had negative mindsets in my body image. I would, and so many people can relate to this. You look in the mirror and it almost feels like you're looking into a funhouse mirror. And it's not the mirror, it's your brain, because you're so used to picking out the quote unquote flaws in yourself. This is also how I operated in relationships. I would feel very insecure in relationships, and I would develop these patterns of codependency, and this would persist until I finally recognized that that's what I was doing. And so in essence, scarcity exists everywhere. Scarcity can be a mindset that follows us throughout our day-to-day lives. Similarly, you could have money in your bank account, and you could technically, if you actually looked at your finances and looked at your expenses, you would very well be in a comfortable place of living financially. However, you could still look at that number in your bank account and operate from a place of scarcity, because scarcity means to never have enough, to never feel like you are in a place where you have enough, where you have what you need. And so instead of practicing gratitude and stepping into a place of thankfulness for the things that we have, and instead of being able to focus on the positives in life, because there are so many beautiful positives in life, and they're literally there for the taking. They are there for us to admire them and love them. Instead of doing that, you are focusing on all the areas where you do not have things. You're focusing on where you are lacking. That is, in essence, a scarcity mindset. Now, on the other hand, we have an abundance mindset. So I'm sure that for those of you who are not familiar with these concepts, you can already gather that an abundance mindset is operating from a place of gratitude, operating from a place of knowing that you have enough, of focusing on a glass half full perspective. And the thing about a glass half full perspective is once you practice it, once you start practicing it, you start noticing it more and more and more. Just like how a negative mindset can behave very similarly to like a cancer where it just spreads everywhere, positivity can do the same exact thing. I was recently listening to a really wonderful podcast called Skinny Dipping with host Kayla Rose. Very, very, very amazing podcast if you're into spirituality and into self-love and personal growth from a deeper spiritual place. I highly recommend checking it out. She is my queen. But she was talking about how people don't realize that a spiral can go upward. Oftentimes when we think about spiraling, mentally spiraling, we think of a downward spiral. If you ask somebody how they're doing and they tell you that they're spiraling, that is commonly understood as this person is going down. This person is worrying about all the negatives. This person is being weighed down by a lot of factors. Spiraling means that literally anything within your grasp is just bringing you down lower and lower and lower. Now, Kayla talks about how spiraling can also be an upward motion, and this is something that none of us really consider it to be, because like attracts like. This is pure law of attraction. The more we focus on the positives, the more we see where we're going right, the more that we acknowledge where things are going well for us, the more we see other things going well for us, the more we see where we have things, where we have abundance, we have wealth. And the first step, in my personal opinion, to developing an abundance mindset is broadening your understanding and your definition of what wealth is. Now, before I lose you guys, because obviously everybody wants to be wealthy, everybody wants money. Don't worry, we'll get to that. And don't get me wrong, I very much value monetary wealth. However, I've learned to treat monetary wealth as a byproduct of the wealth inside of me. Now, let me go deeper into explaining this. So what I mean by this is, how am I abundant? This is something that I ask myself on a daily basis now. Where is there abundance in my life? And you can also interpret this as just pure and simple gratitude. I have a roof over my head. I have food in my fridge. I have family that I can turn to. I have friends that I can turn to. I can call any one of my family members right now and they will be available. And if they are busy, they will call me back eventually at some point today or within the next couple days. And so these are very fundamental, basic levels of abundance. But the reason that I bring them up is because I believe that a very key component to developing a true intrinsic abundance mindset and navigating life in an abundant way is starting from the very basic things in our lives. Because oftentimes people forget that we are really lucky to have things that we take for granted. A lot of people in this world, I would say probably 90% of the world, does not have the things that we don't think twice about. Now, I'm not going to get super deep into this right now, but I was born in Ukraine. As we know, there is a war going on in Ukraine. And over the past several years of that war getting worse and worse, I've become more and more increasingly aware of the things that I take for granted and the things that I didn't even realize were a blessing. You know, there are people in my home country that quite literally just need food, that need shelter, that fear for their safety on a daily basis. And I'm not saying this to invalidate or shun anybody. I would never do that because everybody's experience is entirely valid. And trust me, I used to suck at gratitude. I didn't understand gratitude. It felt unnatural to me. It felt dumb because I was so conditioned to operate from a place of scarcity and a place of negativity. But this is why I'm talking about this. Life is such a precious thing and it's such a beautiful thing. And oh God, I'm getting emotional. Life is such a blessing, guys. We are so fortunate to have things like food and shelter and community and people that we can turn to, safety. These are things that we don't understand because we've had them our whole lives. We don't understand that a vast majority of the rest of the world does not always have. So the reason that I find it so important to start at this baseline, this base level of gratitude and appreciation for the simple little things is because once you realize, oh, I'm safe, that opens you up to a much more open mindset. Because I've learned for myself, and I find that this is pretty relatable, when we operate from a place of scarcity, it's operating from a place of fear. And even if we are physically safe in our environment, we are not in immediate danger, we still operate in this fight or flight mindset. And so that can lead us to create more scarcity in our lives than we need to. And so that leads us to be afraid in a place where we don't need to be afraid. So by presenting ourselves with the awareness that we are quite literally safe. Like, no matter what happens today, I know that I have a safe, warm bed to fall asleep in. I know that I have food in my fridge. I know that I have friends to turn to. I know I have my job. Even if that job is currently not making me rich, I have income. Then you realize, oh, I'm completely safe right now. And with the awareness that we are physically safe, I find that for me alleviates a very, very deep layer of anxiety because, for instance, work anxiety about, auditioning, anxiety about quite literally anything, which is a very, very big component of a scarcity mindset. All of that stems from me feeling afraid, even though I don't really understand why I'm afraid. Like, I can say, yeah, I'm afraid that I'm not going to get this job, or I'm afraid that I'm going to F up this relationship I'm in, or I'm afraid that I'm not going to be rich by the time I'm in my 30s or whatever, whatever. But why am I afraid of these things? On a deeper level, what is it about these things that is causing me to operate from a place of fear? Oftentimes I find that these can be like very socially constructed things. And once I'm aware of that, then I can slowly move away from that, because my goal in life is to not let social constructs rule me and not become a prisoner to them, but rather use the awareness of social constructs to rise above them. And I'm getting on a tangent, so let me just get back on track. So, sorry guys, I have zero script right now. I am riffing away to my heart's content. However, I cannot stress enough the importance of acknowledging these places where we deserve to be grateful for, because from there, that's where the upward spiral can begin. Because once you allow yourself to feel safe in your circumstances and stop comparing yourself to other people, because comparison is the death of happiness. We all know this. And if you don't, now you do. When you can look at your circumstances separate from anybody else's and look at your life and say, okay, I'm safe, that opens you up. That already allows you to focus on the positive, because you're like, okay, well, I have what I need right now. Now, where do I want to be putting my attention? So for me, for example, when I moved to New York at the beginning of December last year, I spent a couple of months really stressing out about money, and then something just clicked inside of me, and I was like, wait, why am I stressing out about money so much? I came to New York to focus on furthering myself as a performing artist. I came to New York to expand my network, expand my life experience, to grow as an artist and as a person. Right now, I have a job, I have money in the bank, I can pay my rent, and I can afford food. And I have the time to focus on auditioning. I have everything I need. I have everything that I set out to do. And it occurred to me that, oh my God, the universe has my back. I'm literally in a place that is setting me up for future abundance. And that realization just absolutely changed my mindset and changed the way that I started walking through my life, my everyday life, because I was like, I have what I need. Now, what do I want to be doing? And I realized that I can show up to work with a smile on my face because I'm safe and I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to go to work, and I'm grateful that I can use my skills and use my talents to further myself. I'm grateful that, although my job is not currently making me rich, it's making me rich in experience, in time. It's making me rich with friendship. All of my coworkers are performing artists as well. And this is my next point, actually. So where in our lives is there abundance besides monetary wealth? Because here's the thing, money comes and goes. There have been times where I've been making more money than I knew I was capable of making. And then there are other times that I have literally been like broke. And the thing is, money comes and goes. Money can always be made. However, time, we do not get back. Time is the one thing that is finite in this world. And so once I became aware of that, I was like, oh my God, how do I want to spend my time? Because that is how I'm going to tap into a place of abundance. How do I want to show up in my everyday life? Do I want to show up in my everyday life with a frown on my face, constantly focusing on where things are lacking? Or do I want to focus on all the areas of life where there's so much to appreciate? Even in my work environment, I'm obsessed with all of my coworkers. They're all so talented. They all have hearts of gold. They all have such interesting lives and stories and such interesting diverse backgrounds. And that is abundance. Being in a place where you can gain something from people just by being around them. I also, it's very easy to fall into a place of scarcity living in a big city because you're surrounded by capitalism and you're surrounded by shopping and you're surrounded by these very fancy restaurants. And it's very easy to start getting in your head about those things and thinking, oh, well, I can't afford all these things. And then you have to reel yourself back and be like, who cares? This is just a thing. This is literally just a physical thing. And maybe I don't need to go out to that fancy dinner tonight. Maybe I don't need to have that ridiculously expensive article of clothing. Maybe that is not going to serve me. And, if you can afford it, then by all means, maybe it will serve you. Allow yourself to buy that fancy piece of clothing and allow yourself to feel as bougie as you want to in it. Go off, sis. However, that ultimately, and we know this, we know that money cannot buy happiness. To a certain degree, money creates stability and money creates comfortability and money creates happiness because it allows us to feel free. However, the deeper, more intrinsic forms of happiness, aka abundance, are people, experiences, life lessons, growth, developing a higher level of consciousness, raising your vibration. And how do you raise your vibration? You focus on the positives. You also allow yourself to let go of things that are stressing you out. And this can be difficult sometimes. However, I've grown to understand that if I'm starting to spiral about things, then the quickest remedy for me to actually work through those issues is to just surrender to them rather than grasping on them for dear life and focusing on all of my areas of scarcity. Just saying, okay, I'm going to use singing as an example again. So what if I can't belt as high as the other singer in the room? So what if my voice doesn't sound good doing this one particular thing? Maybe I'm not meant to do that. Maybe and you guys can, replace singing it with a different analogy. You can apply this mindset to quite literally anything in your life. So what if what I'm doing does not compare to what another person is doing? My job is not to be other people. And now I'm kind of diving in a little bit into comparison, but everything's so interconnected that these things come into play so much when it comes to scarcity, because comparison really does create a place of scarcity in our headspaces. And I started asking myself, what if my job with my talent and my abilities is to not be like that person who can do the things that I can't do? And maybe that person can't do what I do. And this ties very much into leading a life that is more authentic to you. And this is where the good stuff starts to emerge. This is where true abundance really just starts knocking down your door. When you start to really embrace your strengths. And for somebody who operates from a place of scarcity, this can be very difficult because you might even be asking me, Oksana, what strengths are you even talking about? I don't have strengths. Yes, you do. Calm down. Take a breath. Chill. You have strengths. Trust me. Because we all do. We all have natural inclinations towards things. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of exploration to find those things. However, we all do. And I've found that one of the key tools in discovering those things, it's so simple, guys. And I'm saying simple, but not easy. But the key is listening to your intuition. And I know that some of you might be thinking to yourselves, oh my gosh, what is this woo-woo hooey that she is feeding me? But please, just hear me out. It really is that simple. When we're talking about creating abundance in our lives, our intuition plays such an intrinsic, deep role in that, because our intuition is not this elusive concept that people lie about. Intuition is a real thing. This is why if you do things that you had a bad feeling about in the first place, usually they don't end up going right or going your way. Similarly, if you have a gut feeling and you follow it, usually it leads you to something really good. And so the way that this can be applied to creating abundance in our lives is, once again, using singing as an example, because this is what I can share from my own personal life. So for a long time, I compared myself to other vocalists and really didn't understand how to step into my own place of power as a performer and how to let my light shine. Even though I knew, like, yes, I'm a skilled singer, but I wasn't really allowing myself to create that star quality and that oomph that people see on a stage and it excites them. And that's what I wanted. And I was like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I do what so-and-so is doing and what this person is doing and what this person is doing? And it's because I was trying to be them. I wasn't stepping into my own place of power. I was focusing on what other people were doing. And now it is wonderful to feel inspired by others. That's so important. But after the initial inspiration starts turning into envy or jealousy, we need to step away from that energy. We need to set that down. We need to surrender. We need to let go of it, and we need to look inward and tell ourselves, okay, maybe I can't do what they do, but I sure as hell can do a lot of really, really great stuff. What can I offer up to the table? Where do I shine the most? And for me, this required a lot of just listening to music, spending a lot of time studying different artists, singing covers of different artists, and really exploring what do I sound best in? And also approaching songs that I'm not very good at and asking myself, how can I make this my own? How can I take this song and turn it into Oksana's rendition of this song rather than Oksana singing a cover of this, you know? And how can I allow myself to assume ownership and assume authority within my own skill set, within my own abilities? And once again, this example can be very easily transferable into anything in life. You know, you can apply it to any career path. You can apply it to truly whatever you want. And what this offers you is the freedom of understanding that what's not meant for you is just not meant for you. So I no longer even worry about booking a job or a role. I literally do not think about it because I know that I have so much value to offer in my craft, in my abilities, that it's not a matter of whether or not I'm good enough, whether or not I'm worthy. It's quite literally just a matter of, am I the right fit? And are these people, this is very important, are these people the right fit for me? Too often, we focus on where we can fit into other people's lives, where we can fit into a job, where we can fit into a relationship, whether or not we're good enough for a potential partner, whether or not we're good enough for a role, a job, a position. Too little do we step into our place of power, step into our value and our importance, and realize, oh, it's a two-way street. This isn't just about me fitting into this mold of what somebody else wants. It's also, what am I getting out of this? Is this person right for me? Is this job right for me? Is this job going to take me from point A to point B? Because when you operate from a place of scarcity, it's very much a I will take what I can get mindset. And we are not doing that here. No. No, we are not focusing on what we can get. We are manifesting what we deserve. We are attracting what we deserve. And we are doing that by living and breathing and existing and communicating and loving and growing in our place of power, our abundance mindset. This is truly the core of what abundance is. It is focusing on where you already have the good stuff. And then that good stuff creates that upward spiral. Because if you focus on where you have strengths, you start to realize positive thoughts create more positive thoughts. Abundant beliefs create more abundant beliefs. For example, I know that I'm a really good belter. I might not be able to belt super high, but when I belt, it's like the equivalent of flying, but for my voice. And it's an amazing feeling. I'm not going to get into it, but I love the feeling of belting when I sing. Now, just the other day, I was practicing and I was exploring what I could do while I'm belting to elevate the performance even more. And I realized that there are certain ways that I can sing while I'm belting or lean out of a belt in a way that juxtaposes the energy of the belt and create more texture to my performance. And here's the thing, I used to think to myself, oh, I wish I could belt higher. I sound so good when I belt, but I just can't belt super high. And, I don't sound good after a certain note, and my voice is just awkward and weird, and nobody's ever going to want to hire me because my voice doesn't do what other singers do. And just terribly, terribly scarce perspective after scarce perspective after scarce perspective. And this is why it's so important to just let those thoughts go. And I'm going to talk about this very soon. In my next episode, I plan on doing an episode on presence and how to not identify with our thoughts. And if that's something that you're interested in, tune in, please, my loves, because this is something that this is basically the fundamentals of mindfulness and presence and meditation and basically all the things that give us mental health. And we all want mental health, don't we? I think we do. So please stay tuned for that episode if you're interested in learning how to stop identifying with your negative thoughts and instead letting go of them. Because this is something that I was not aware until I was aware. You don't know until you know that you can do. You can let go of negative thoughts. It's not a matter of living in denial and pretending like everything is peaches and cream. Obviously, those setbacks, those limitations still exist. If I don't focus on the fact that I can't belt super high, that doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden going to be able to belt super high. However, it means that I'm not going to focus on that. And rather than focusing on something that I quite literally cannot do at the current moment, I'm saying at the current moment because we are always learning and growing. And it's not like I don't warm up my voice every day. She is going through her reps. Just wait until I'm like 30. Y'all are going to be like, what? Oh my God, Oksana's voice has changed so much. She can sing so high. She can belt so high. And you know what? Even if that doesn't happen, even if my voice doesn't want to do that, I'm still going to be great. But that's besides the point. So me not focusing on the things that stress me out, me not focusing on the things that make me feel like I'm lesser than, which is just an illusion in my head because I am always inherently worthy, just like each and every one of you are. It allows me the space, the mental space, because mental space does have a capacity. Like this is something that we seem to forget. You cannot focus on being abundant when you are grasping on to all the things that you are not good at or you are not abundant in, when you are focusing on the areas in your life where you are lacking. You can't create abundance in your life when you're doing that, because abundance is created when you allow yourself to create the space to focus on that abundance. You can't, like, we do not multitask. We can't do that. We can't think about two things at the same time. So allowing yourself the permission, and I talked about giving yourself permission in my last week's episode. So if you are interested in learning about how to give yourself permission to do the things that you want to do, which is something that oftentimes holds us back, please check it out. But we have to give ourselves permission to make that room for abundant mindsets. And just like working out at the gym can be uncomfortable, and lifting a weight that is super heavy, or running when you are not used to running is unpleasant and uncomfortable, learning how to reframe your thoughts into more abundant thoughts is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like an unnatural process. It's going to feel like this isn't how I should operate, because you're not used to operating in that way. But what I highly recommend is just begin by observing your limiting beliefs and observing your thoughts of scarcity in your life, whether they have to do with money, whether they have to do with, love, relationships, whether they have to do with body image, whether they have to do with career, whether they have to do with food, or just simply with a hobby. Wherever you're telling yourself you are not enough or you do not have enough in any capacity, in any way, I want you to become aware of that and write it down, put it in your notes app, do something to make yourself more aware, and just start with the awareness, and then start experimenting with how you can turn that into a positive statement instead. And this might really feel unnatural. It really might, but I'm telling you, it works. But you have to do it on a regular basis. You have to do it again and again. And you have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You literally have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You have to give yourself the permission to make your brain uncomfortable by practicing positive self-talk. This is literally the foundation of abundance. Presence, positivity, and endurance, really, consistency. Like, just doing, oh my gosh. I really apologize if you hear the construction going on outside. There's nothing I can do about it, and I felt really called to do this episode, and it is the only time today I can, because I have an audition coming up soon, and I'm really excited for it. And actually, let me just talk about this audition for a second, because 2 years ago, I had so much performance anxiety when it came to singing in front of people, which is really frustrating for me because I literally have a degree in musical theater and I was trained to be a performer. However, I used to struggle so much with worrying about people not liking what I had to offer up. I was so far deep in a scarcity mindset that despite being talented and trained and good at what I did, I was so laser focused on all the little mistakes that I would make and all the areas where I was just lacking. And fast forward, years later and a lot of self-work later, I have an audition today that I cannot wait for. And that is a really, really good feeling. I'm quite literally going in with the mindset of whether or not they hire me, I'm about to have some fun today. They're going to listen to me sing. They're going to listen to me do what I do best. They're going to watch me be a goofball up there in front of them. They are going to get a taste of Oksana Varas, and they are going to love me. And if they don't love me, that's okay, because you know what I'm also there to do? I'm there to check out the vibes with them. I'm there to see, do I like these people? Do we vibe? Is there going to be a connection? Are we going to hit it off? Will I have a feeling that we're going to work well together, or are we not going to work well together? But most importantly, I'm not worried about any of these things because it's come to my attention and realization that whatever's meant to happen will happen. All my job is to just be in my place of abundance, self-love, self-appreciation, and focus on what I do best and vibe out. And, I say this because I think that it's just really a good example of what can happen when you commit yourself to changing your communication with yourself, when you commit yourself to stepping into an abundance mindset and you accept that it's going to take some work and you welcome that challenge, you welcome that mindset shift because you know that it's going to pay off. Yes, getting the job, that is the goal, and that's like exciting. That's really, really exciting to get the job, but also you cannot put a price tag on having a good, positive mindset because that is when you are quite literally a magnet for anything you want in life. Think about the people that you know who are such a joy to work with, and you can tell that they operate from a place of abundance and knowing their worth and knowing their skill set. Those people seem to always get booked for the jobs. They always seem to be in healthy, happy relationships. They always seem to be, attracting good, positive things in life. And that's not to say that they don't have their own struggles and their own, setbacks of their own, because none of us are perfect. We're human beings. However, those people, they are quite literally attracting better and better opportunities for themselves and better circumstances because they know what they're worth and they know what they have to offer up and they know what they shouldn't say yes to. And they won't say yes to the things that are not in alignment with them. They are not going to just take what they can get because they know what they deserve and they know what they can offer up. And you can be one of those people. I promise to you, this is within your grasp just as much as it is within theirs. Yesterday, I was talking to a coworker about how I firmly believe that every single human being on this planet is very capable of greatness. However, some of us are just more fortunate to be set up more for greatness, and some of us have learned how to set ourselves up for greatness more than others. But there is no doubt in my mind that every single person on this earth has amazing ideas, has amazing strengths, has amazing skills, has amazing things to offer this world. But in order to get there, in order to create that life of abundance that everybody wants, you need to set yourself up with the tools to get yourself there. Learning to reframe your thoughts, learning to speak positively to yourself, learning to express gratitude for the incredible things that we have every single day to say thank you for, that we do take for granted, that we are no longer taking for granted, my friends, because you deserve to feel grateful. You deserve to feel abundant. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to realize your full potential. And I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for listening. Once again, if you liked this episode, please like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. Follow me on, I just made a TikTok, but I haven't posted any TikToks yet, but we'll get to that soon. Follow me on the social medias. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And lastly, as always, be kind to yourself. All right. Mwah.